Welcome everyone to the official losing streak nightcap. I'm Matthias Schwarzkopf. With me is Levi and Dylan, who's back after his we thought would be a loss curing absence last week. It in fact definitely made things worse.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it takes 3 to be a streak, right? So we're not there yet. But the morale is low.
Morale is low. That is the objective truth.
Beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a silver lining guy, I guess. But
sounds like it.
There's not a ton.
I'll be honest.
I think the only silver lining is that we're pissed off and most fans are pissed off. And the reason that's a silver lining is because we get to have a football program that we're mad that we're going to miss out on the conference championship and the college football playoff. 10 years ago, we would be fucking bouncing off the walls that we have 7 wins at this point in the season. But you don't want to stay that way. You obviously, I think the next step is you expect 10 wins every year. But at least we have a team that we can be upset when they underperform. And it's not expected to underperform. That would be the silver lining, I would say.
Some all-time spins out here from Dylan. At least we're good enough that you can be pissed about us sucking.
I mean, that's true, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong, I guess.
How many years have you been through Iowa State football where they sucked fucking horribly and you weren't even mad because you already knew?
Or we would have killed our firstborn child to have 7 wins.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh my God. Well, there's a lot of years.
You don't want to sit here and just be content with going to a bowl game every year. Obviously, you want to keep getting better.
Well, there's the famous Campbell quote from the first seasons, bullshit teams care about going 6-6.
Well, yeah. I'll be honest.
And they're not going to go 6-6.
Which remains true. It remains true.
They're going to get 10 wins. It's just going to be the most disappointing 10-win season ever.
I think the whole bowl game thing sucks even more now. At least we're going to a bowl game where, every game you win now, improves the quality, air quotations, bowl game that you can go to.
Yeah.
But, bowl games suck now.
And they're dying.
And they're dying. And with the expanded college football playoff, nothing matters.
They're, even less important,
Mm-hmm.
The bigger bowl games were kind of cool still a little bit with the 14 playoff, but now they're
it was still a big deal to go into a New Year's 6 game.
Well, now there is no New Year's 6.
Right now there isn't anything. Yeah.
So if you're not in the playoff, you're not in a big game, and it's just kind of
a game that nobody really matters or cares for.
At this point, I think the winner, the best non-playoff bowl a Big 12 team can go to, I think would be
Alamo Bowl,
I guess. Is the Cotton Bowl in the playoff?
I think they all are.
Are they all in the playoff every year?
It just rotates
just
which ones are
which ones what seed and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean your 2 top bowls would be the Alamo Bowl and the Pop-Tarts Bowl. But other than that, what do you fucking do?
What in the fuck's a Pop-Tart Bowl?
Used to be the Cheez-It Bowl.
Which also used to be the Camping World Bowl. Used to be the Camping World Bowl, then it's Cheez-It Bowl, and now it's Pop-Tart Bowl.
Man, we fucking own the Camping Cheez-It Pop-Tart Liberty Bowl.
Except for we got our ass beat in it the first time and then just barely lost the second time.
I'll tell you this, you win one.
I just mean we own going to those 2 bowl games. That one and the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, the Liberty Bowl.
Win one more to avoid the Liberty Bowl. That's the train.
Win literally one more and we don't go to the Liberty Bowl, and that is the only thing that.
But the Liberty Bowl should actually be an SEC team this year, right?
Well, there's possibility for it to be an SEC team every year, and then it
but there never is.
Hasn't.
That's what I'm saying. Well, for the longest time, wasn't it designated Big 12 SEC, and then all of a sudden they just put Memphis in it every fucking year?
Basically, yeah.
Or just years Iowa State goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever Iowa State plays there, they're required to play against Memphis in their own stadium.
Tulsa.
Yeah, fucking Tulsa, where we played them 3 times in 2 years.
Yeah, why don't we have a Corn Bowl in the Unidome and we get to play in it every year that we suck?
Shout out to the Graphic Edge Bowl that has played in the Unidome. And NCJC
What is it? CGAA, whatever. National Junior. Oh, so NJCAA.
NCAA.
Yeah, let's go play in that one.
Graphic Edge Bowl.
Let's just play Drake
like we did the
Drake
last 2 weeks, and we'll
play Drake at Drake Stadium for the postseason every year.
Why not?
Because we all want to play Drake again, right?
Actually, no. Drake could win the Pioneer League and make the FCS playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we're not here for
worst game ever. Worst game ever.
Oh, it's horrible.
It was horrible for everybody involved. We didn't even tailgate that day. We just showed up, and they didn't even bother scanning tickets or anything. You just walk into the stadium.
You walked into the stadium, and
they were just like, "Fuck it! If you're here, you're trying to go." So, like, fuck it.
That was probably the most miserable conditions I think I've ever experienced.
Yep, no question about it. I was there for the Ice Bowl, the 2013 Ice Bowl against Kansas, where it was -10, and that was 100 times better than that Drake game.
Yeah, and you guys were just sitting in the stands. You weren't ankles deep in fucking what felt like cow shit.
Yeah. Yeah, two different kinds of miserable. You were running around in the shit, and we just had to stand there in it and do nothing.
I mean, it literally just completely leveled the playing field. Like, being bigger, faster, and stronger didn't not matter.
Yeah.
David Montgomery can't even fucking make a cut.
Can't plant his foot. Yeah.
Brock has tiny hands. He can't throw the ball. We practice inside.
You and your beef with Brock's hands.
They're tiny. I love Brock. My 49ers hat on, but
you are wearing a 49ers hat.
He does.
Did you buy that, or did he give it to you?
My wife got it for me for my birthday. Part of my birthday gift.
So you bought it.
Well, indirectly.
Yeah. Feel like this might be a one-sided relationship with you and Brock. I don't know. No. Let's be fucking miserable and talk about this dumb fucking football
speaking of tiny things that happened, our score was tinier compared to Kansas's score on Saturday.
It was. They scored more points than we did.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, that was the first game. That is probably the first game I think maybe I've ever been to that I walked out of the stadium with more than 2 minutes left. Right after it was after we had thrown that pick six to go down 17. We were driving, we were kind of starting to do something. And then they threw that pick six. And then the next possession, they punted it on the next possession. I was like, okay, well, fuck it. I guess if they're giving up, then I don't have no reason to be here or whatever. Like, I'm not like, I don't care about beating the traffic, but like, if they're just going to kind of give up like that, then fuck it. Like, I don't want to be here either. Whatever. I mean, like, I get it. Like, at a certain point, you just got to fucking take the L and move on. But I don't know. That rubbed me the wrong way.
Pick six, if that didn't happen, I don't think they were going to win the game, but the fake rally was going to hit real hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they were going to score that drive.
Oh, I have no doubt about it. If that was your only. I mean, granted, you should never be in this situation in this game, but you don't throw that pick six, you definitely at least have a chance.
Oh yeah, I mean, they would go down the field and score. You'd try the onside kick, and which they got an onside kick, didn't they?
No, it was a decent attempt at one, but we didn't get it.
Oh, they didn't get it. Okay. I didn't say I wasn't in the stadium. But even if you don't get it there, you'd stop Kansas a few times on the ground and then see what happens, I guess. But yeah, then that pick six, Rocco missed. He was good, but like he was mostly good. But when he missed his throws, he was like nowhere fucking close. Like that pick six was a terrible throw. He missed Steve Klotz wide open in the end zone on an outrageously good play design.
We didn't score.
Also, let's stop that dumb shit where we kick field goals inside the 5-yard line on 4th and goal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate that shit. That's the most like loser. That to me, I don't know. I
Depends
get that you're
on
like
the game state.
You're right. It depends. It totally does. However, with how your defense was getting torn apart that game,
you needed more than 3 points.
You needed more than 3 points. Like you don't need a points chase, but like, so you don't need to like go for 2 or something like that. But like, just I don't know. It's hard to say like when you're just sitting in the stands watching the game. Like I get it. Like that's the limitation of like commentating on this stuff as a fan versus being on the field. Like obviously, guys on the field and guys in the press, guys up in the coach's box and all that, they know more than anybody could know about this game. They know what a play is trying to do. They know what the situation is with who's hurt, who's not, what's working, what's not. I get it. However, from the fan side of this, which is like I said, that's the only perspective we can get. It's really frustrating to see us play like excessively conservatively in that type of situation. And there's been plenty of times where we have done something like that, and then it just turns out to be the right call. But the first thing I'm thinking of is the 2020 Texas game when you guys punted that later in the fourth quarter. It was like 4 minutes left or something like that. I know everybody on Twitter and everybody watching the game was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Punting that shit away." Worked out, forced another, and then got the ball back, and then obviously ended up winning that game, whatever. But then it was like, was there another one in the Iowa game this year or something? There's been multiple times where they make the, what appears to be an overly conservative call in the moment. You're like, what the fuck, or whatever, and then it works out. But in this type of game, when you need something to get going, you started off 7-0, started off getting up 7-0 after that first drive, but then now I think it was at that point they were down 14-7. I think when that happened, or was it 21-7, something like it was 21-7. I think when they kicked that field goal, because it went to 21-10. So it was 21-7 at that point. Your defense is getting torn to shreds. I don't know. I just feel like at that point you got to go for it and try to keep up.
The flip side of it too is Kansas went right back down the field and scored another touchdown. Right,
absolutely, they did.
Which with our defense, you're not usually counting on that, right? Like, you're like, let's get points on the board because like we historically don't give up a ton of points. So like you take points when you get them. And I think that's probably the mentality. But like, yeah, I mean, I get it.
That felt like an in-game decision, like an in-game adjustment you would make, I think.
Yeah, the one that gets me every time, not this game, but like in general with the conservative stuff is like you have timeout, you got a couple timeouts, and there's like 40 seconds left in the half, and you just
banking a timeout at the end of that first half fucking killed me. I was screaming, and I don't know. They banked a timeout, and the last play they ran before half, they made a sub and made Carson Brown run all the way across the field while the time is ticking.
Yeah.
Why? You wasted 20 seconds making a sub and making a shitty play call. Like
I had friends even say that too, and they were like, "What are they like? Are they not?" And I said in the moment was like, the first half was just fucking atrocious, and you just want to get to halftime at that point. Like you're just trying to get to halftime and nothing else. Like, I
mean, like I get that, but that's not what they were trying to do. Then if you're making substitutions like that, you're trying to do something with the play. And like if they were trying to get out of the half, they could just hand it off, or they could kneel it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean the offense wasn't great, but we scored enough points to win the game.
We absolutely did. Yeah, the offense did enough. I don't know. It's startling to see a game like that where the loss almost entirely falls on the defense.
It was really weird though, because like they come out and make a stop, which we haven't seen yet, really.
Yeah,
right.
Like people get points on the first drive every single game,
right?
And then we go 99 yards, and then the second, I think, where the defense kind of fell apart. So the second drive, they have the huge, like I don't even know how long of a play, the touchdown, the
75,
huge play,
yeah.
And then it kind of felt like past that point, we got too bought into not giving up the big play. We were like playing everything really soft. We were giving up all kinds of shit. Like, I mean, they would get 7, 8, 9 yards on first down like it was their day job, like with no contest whatsoever. And I think it was like, man, we got torched. Like, let's not get torched, and just gave up so much. And like I told you guys earlier, the entire game felt really shitty from a defensive standpoint because there wasn't a receiver for Kansas that made a contested catch. They were wide fucking open every single time. And then you had a couple, drops or overthrows that would have been big plays too, but also wide open. So I don't know what the deal was with that.
It felt I don't know how much it matters or not, but one of their defensive assistants is DK McDonald, who was here for a long time and helped design the defense as it is now. So I'm sure having a guy like that on staff that basically knows exactly where every open spot's going to be
Well, yeah, you better figure that out though, because we are going against another one. So
Yeah, you're going up against a guy that's actually calling the plays now.
yeah,
And I don't know. Right now, it feels strange to say, but it feels like right now the offense is going to have to carry the defense for a while. The defense right now is just so banged up. But it's very clear to me that Bo Frailer he's just hanging on for dear life at this point. He's playing one armed basically. Like you have two safeties that are essentially playing with one arm right now.
not to mention the linebackers.
Not to mention the linebackers are hurt. Dominic Orange didn't play last week. It's just that defense. They're like, it's not for like a lack of effort or a lack of whatever. I mean, there's right now you're having to trot out, I mean, if you look at who's playing right now, who is actually a starter at the beginning of the season. I mean, you got J.R. Singleton, you got Joey Peterson, who's been pretty good recently, actually. You've got Bo, and you've got
Cooper
Ebel. Yeah, the Cooper Ebel, and then the corners.
Other Cooper.
Yeah, other Cooper. Yeah. Jeremiah Cooper, who's been kind of weirdly okay this year, not great.
I have a little bit of beef with Jeremiah Cooper, right?
Oh yeah.
So that long, I don't know if it was to go on that drive to go to up 28-10.
Yeah, who knows? They scored 50 fucking times. So
yeah, the pass they had deep down, I think it would have been the home side of the field where I think it was Miles Purchase passed off and Cooper was not there to take the pass off. But Cooper ran back towards the middle of the field with the other crossing wide receiver, but then he came back to eventually make the tackle. But like, if you go back and watch that play, he probably could have stopped him another like 10, 15 yards before where he actually stopped him before, but he was jogging to get to like, and it almost looked like he was like maybe not trying to allow a cut back towards the middle of the field to be ready for it. But like, there was no like emphasis on pursuing this guy. It was just like, okay, I'll just let him keep running an extra 10, 15 yards. Maybe, like I said, he could have been just being ready for a cut back towards the middle of the field or what, but it felt like it just added.
Well, he dropped that pick in the fourth quarter too in the end zone where he could have picked that off, and I think that was the one
after.
I say Kansas ended up missing the field goal, so it didn't end up mattering a ton. But in the moment, you're like, oh shit, he probably needed to pick that because you're assuming that Kansas is going to make the field goal.
Yeah.
Well, momentum is an untrackable stat as well.
It is.
But granted, a missed field goal and a pick are similar in momentum swing, I guess.
Yeah. I think a pick probably feels better just because it's like you created the turnover versus Kansas just missed a field goal. I guess. I don't know, maybe not, but I don't know. I did see an interesting tweet. I want to talk about this a little bit actually because I had an interesting reply on Twitter. I'll admit I was tweeting through it in the second half from the Wide Right account.
As you should have, as everybody was.
It's only a natural reaction at this point. But so I was tweeting through it or whatever. I had an interesting reply from a fan from a follower saying that the 3-3-5 was built for a Big 12 that doesn't exist anymore. And I kind of actually really I think it's a very intriguing point, and I think I agree with him actually, because if you look at back when the 3-3-5 when we first implemented it in 2017, and really it was having its heyday in 2017, 2018, 2019 ish. You look at what was going on back then. You had Baker Mayfield and all them down, and Kyler Murray and all them down in Oklahoma. You had Sam Ehlinger at Texas. You had Baylor was still doing their thing. TCU had some good offenses then. Everybody in the Big 12, or most people in the Big 12 at Texas Tech, most people in the Big 12 were still running a not necessarily a Mike Leach air raid, but they're still largely running an air raid-ish system where they're passing quite a bit. They're trying to move the ball downfield and all this. And that's what this defense was created for. But if you look at the Big 12 as it stands right now, there's really not any team left in the Big 12 that runs that style of offense anymore. I mean, if you look at who is on our schedule this year, UCF is a power running team. Utah is kind of balanced, maybe even a little run heavy. Kansas is kind of a weird RPO option type of thing, but they're certainly not an air raid offense. Cincinnati's not an air raid. Houston's a power running team. Iowa's a power running team. Not that they're in the Big 12, but then, and then West Virginia's a power running team, not like a power running team, but they're a running team. Pretty much everybody in the Big 12 is a run heavy or at least balanced, if not run heavy team. So I'm looking at this defense, and it has done wonders for Iowa State. No doubt about it. It has put the defense in the conversation, always being like a top 20, top 10-ish defense in the best years and stuff like that. Like it's inarguable how much good it's done for Iowa State football in the last 6-7 years since we implemented it. But the Big 12 is a fundamentally different conference than it was when we started playing with it.
Well,
and everybody knows how to play against it now.
Well, that is true. I mean, it was the top scoring defense in the Big 12 until last week. Like, they just fell apart in one game. So while it was built for the 2017 season, I still think it in the principle of it all, it still can be very effective and work 100% of the way as your main base defense, because if those 3 down linemen up front are causing disruption, now not necessarily maybe getting a ton of sacks or whatever, but they have to. It's kind of like when you play a Tampa 2 defense, you have to have your nose tackle absolutely obliterate the center every fucking time. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the linebackers won't flow to where they're supposed to in Tampa 2. Shout out Lovie Smith.
In Tampa 2, there, I mean, that was also the old Bucks, the Warren Sapp playing nose tackle and all that.
Shout out Lovie Smith.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to have like the 3 technique absolutely destroy in that defense to make it work. Right. And the same thing goes for here is all 3 down linemen have to absolutely destroy their guy, or at least just allow them from getting to the second level to allow the linebackers to flow. And I think, especially in this Kansas game, what we saw was that the defensive linemen were not doing that.
Not even close. Whatsoever. I mean, they weren't even like kind of getting pressure. They were not even close.
And I don't know, I don't think our defensive line necessarily has gotten a ton of pressure in the last 2 years, for that matter.
Since Will McDonald left.
Will McDonald has been gone. But they have done enough where they have caused disruption up front to create havoc from all the other positions. And some of that could be a little bit of the linebackers, maybe not being to the full strength this season, where they have had the time lapses and the allow the big plays and stuff like that. But if you get some linebackers healthy next year, or even maybe these guys cause disruption, Dominic Orange is back this week and it'll be just fine. But I think you're right, but it's also wrong to say that the 3-3-5 has served its purpose and should go bye-bye, because it still is a purpose for the defense.
Well, I think it's still useful. I think it's still a useful scheme, but I don't like what I saw. They actually did run some 4-down stuff against Kansas early on, especially, and it kind of worked. Like I think it did fairly well. I think when you look at not just the Big 12 is just different than it used to be, but also looking at the personnel that you have on the team, and specifically the personnel that's healthy. Right now, your 2 best defensive front, of the front 6, front 7 players, by far the 2 best people that are healthy right now are J.R. Singleton and Dominic Orange. To the point where you kind of need them on the field at the same time, if you're going to try to get pressure right now, because like Joey Peterson's been solid, but he's not like an elite pass rusher or anything like that. And then they can't seem to find anybody reliable on that other spot. Kenny Eziogu or what's number 11, Tyler Nyedam. They haven't been able to find anybody consistent at that other spot. And we saw last Saturday.
This is interesting here because in the 3-4 defense, you have to have, because everything flows to a linebacker in the 3-4.
I say the problem with the 3-4 is
we don't have 4 linebackers.
We don't have 4 linebackers. That's the problem.
And the thing about the 3-4 too, your outside linebackers are basically just glorified defensive ends at that point, because the 3-4, like look at like Leonard Floyd. Would you call Leonard Floyd a linebacker? No, he's a defensive end, just called outside linebacker. But
there's lots of guys in the NFL that make their hay doing that.
I'll use like an example of like the Ravens, who are notorious for running the 3-4, but they also have a certain guy called Roquan Smith, who is a tackling machine at the the specific linebacker spot that the defensive line flows the plays towards. So if you don't have a guy like a Roquan Smith,
Yeah.
it ain't working.
Well, and like there's like if you look at like the teams that have really done really well running the 3-4, they've always got a very like an elite edge rusher, like a Von Miller or a Khalil Mack or Khalil Mack was a big one, or there's a few other ones, like I think Jadeveon Clowney did some of that. Like, you know, you need an elite edge rusher, and you need some really reliable linebackers in the middle. And unfortunately, Iowa State is running a whole bunch of freshmen there. So while I don't think you're
defense, like the defensive linemen, the 3 defensive linemen have to be bad motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
The extra safety also has to be a bad motherfucker. Like that has to be your arguably one of your best players on your defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bo being beat up. I mean, he's been good.
Malik Verdon playing one-handed.
Yeah, I mean. It's just like it's a defense where you can't really hide anybody, and unfortunately, we need a couple guys to be hidden because of injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't necessarily think it's like a huge scheme problem, right? Like, it's every defense has it. You can beat every defense, right? Like, there's ways to beat every single defense, every single coverage. But like, there's even more people going to the 3-3-5. Like, it's not.
I think it's just a bunch of things compiling now.
It is. The injuries are catching up with them, no doubt about it. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting point. I do think that the Big 12 schematically has adjusted for the 3-3-5 for sure. I like the idea of going to some of that 4-2-5 that like Gary Patterson ran for a long time at TCU. You know,
yeah, I think there's definitely room for us to mix it up a little bit. Like they talked about it a lot actually in the preseason.
They
did. Just haven't really seen it a ton.
We just saw it for the first time against Kansas, and it was fine. I don't know. I would like to see more of that.
Though it's kind of the same thing as the 3-4, right? You still got to have a guy at your linebacker spot that is a tackling motherfucker.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter what defense they're going to run out there right now, because no matter what, your linebackers need to be out there and be a bunch of badasses, and they're just too young to have that right now. I mean, right, like if you're running a 4-2-5, you're running out Cooper Ebel, and then if Caleb Brazine is healthy, then maybe, but if not, then I guess Ryland Barnes, and you're just hoping that Cooper Ebel stays healthy.
When I say like tackling motherfucker, you got to have a guy that can go sideline to sideline in a hurry. Like Mike, like you watch Mike Rose when he played, like it was like he could go from that fucking side of the field to that side of the field and stop the guy for a 3-yard gain.
Mm-hmm.
Just because. Like that's the guys you need. That
Cooper Ebel is that kind of guy, but I think you need more than just Cooper with this defense currently. I don't know.
It's catching up to him for sure.
It is big time, and it sucks because we know when this team's healthy, they're really good.
But you can't. I mean, you can't. There's not a team in the country that has the depth to deal with the injuries that we have.
No, like, and that's the shitty part is there's like most of these, there's just like nothing they could do about it. It just is what it is, and sometimes you just have bad injury seasons, and this is one of them, and it sucks. They're doing. I mean, it's amazing that they did as well with these injuries for as long as they did. You know, I mean, it's not like these just showed up against Texas Tech. I mean, these injuries have shown.
Well, I think it showed up on film, and then they
figured it out. Yeah.
It was showing up. It was showing up on film, and coordinators are really good at. I mean, ours did it all the time. Like laser pointer in the meeting, like, hey, this guy right here, liability, absolute liability,
right?
And they'll find that stuff. It just at first they had no, like, we didn't know who some of these guys were. Of course, the other teams had no idea who the hell they were. So like, shows up on film a couple times, and it's a lot easier to attack that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, I don't really know what the fix on defense is because nobody's getting healthier, and it's just right now, unfortunately, it might just be a hang on and see what you can do.
Yeah, there isn't any. I mean,
there's no help on the way.
There's three games left in the season. You're not changing anything schematically at this point. It's just matter. You're just gonna rely on hopefully that fundamentals.
We can score 100 points.
That and fundamentals are going to carry you into more prosperous times than not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like none of the games really matter at this point, other than Kansas State because fuck them. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's still like chaos that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like
But
if Colorado loses to either Kansas or Utah, at some point this season and we win out, we would get in.
But again, do you feel like I don't feel
like we're winning out.
Yeah, to make that happen. So we lost our chance by losing to Texas Tech and Kansas, and now when you have to rely on somebody else to make the moves for you, that's your fucking fault. So
yeah. And Colorado's sitting in they control their own.
Yeah, they're in the driver's seat now.
So
yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, you'd still like to see him at least, defend Jack Trice Stadium, beat Cincinnati.
One could argue that is the bye week is what put us in here.
It's like,
we were rolling until that fucking bye week.
We thought the bye week was going to be like, we can get some guys healthy. We can kind of reset a little bit.
As an Iowa State fan and Chicago Bears fan, I am now in full blown mode of ban the fucking bye weeks.
Fuck bye weeks.
Yeah, now we have two of them, dude. Now we have two of them.
Both of my bye weeks in the same time, everything went to hell.
I'm fine with the one between conference and non-conference like we usually have, but this fucking mid-conference schedule bye week sucks.
Because I don't think the rest portion of this bye week for us did us any good.
It didn't. It did nothing. Kale Brazine is still not playing full. Yeah, say Kale Brazine is not playing more snaps. Malik Verdon randomly showed up with a fucking club on his hand. It got worse during the bye week.
We need like a bye 6 months. We should have paused the season for 6 months and then came back and finished.
You want here's your silver lining. Here's your silver lining. I'll give it to you. The silver lining here
matters.
What?
We're all gonna die and nothing else matters.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but the silver lining here is that when you go into next season, your linebacker room is going to be dumb deep. It's going to be stupid deep with people that have played a bunch of games.
By complete accident, too.
By complete accident, you're going to have the deepest linebacker group anybody has ever seen.
You're going to have a seasoned veteran quarterback and nothing else.
You're going to have a seasoned veteran quarterback throwing to who knows. And you're gonna handing it off to, I guess, Carson Hansen, which I guess is good, and throwing to Ben Bramer, hopefully, if he's healthy. And you're gonna have an incredibly deep linebacker core.
I have to clarify.
Beyond that, I don't know, but at that point, you can play the 3-4. But
it depends how you got to think about it. It depends how the rest of the season plays out, because if it gets bad down the stretch here, like. You talk about like losing all three of these and losing your bowl game. Like if it gets fucking train wreck bad,
bad. Yeah.
There is going to be fucking transfers. Like there's going to be all kinds of shit going on in the locker room. Campbell's going to be looking to fucking fire whoever he can. And then if it gets train wreck bad at the end of the season, you could very easily find yourself in a rebuilding phase. I'm just saying.
I choose not to think about.
I choose not to think about that scenario. But the hard part though is like, I mean, who do you yell? Like, who do you blame? Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, John Haycock is trying to do his best, but he's holding the whole thing together with popsicle sticks and.
I mean, he's not going to fire Haycock.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying though. Is like who are you going to blame for it? I mean, it's injuries. Like it's like people are hurt.
I know. Well, last time they happened, they fired Rudy Wade.
Yeah,
we've been down the path of
firing my understanding of that situation was because it was after the Notre Dame game when we got bitched. And that was my understanding of it.
I mean, it was mainly injuries. Like we had like 4 Achilles tears in the same offseason, which is like.
We also just fired what's his name? What's his nuts? The bald dude. So
Dave Andrews.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point do we stop blaming the strength coordinator?
Yeah, I mean,
like Reed Kagi can't put Bo Freeler's shoulder back together.
No, I like Kagi. He's a good dude.
Yeah, I mean, like from everything I've heard, is he's a good guy to have in the program. Like it's not like his
No, I'm not.
fault the
I'm
guys are
not
getting
calling for anybody's job.
Right, right.
I'm just saying there. If it gets really, really bad, they're gonna look like I know this Matt Campbell dude, and he does it when shit gets really bad. He's
Right.
like, "There's a reason why shit got really bad, and it's somebody's fault," and he'll try to find out who it is.
I don't know I don't know who you point fingers at for this though. That's like if there is a person to be held responsible for it, I'm sure they will find it and
I'm
address it.
assuming
But like
at this point, if Matt Campbell knows, which obviously he knows something has gone wrong the last 2 weeks, he has a general idea what that is,
probably
and what that move is. Dylan is alluding to, probably already telegraphed by now.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the last three, like the UCF game.
Yeah,
the UCF
sure.
game wasn't great. Yeah.
I have to.
I remember hearing, was it in the post game press conference? I'd be curious to know if you guys care about this quote or read, and if it's worth caring about. But there was a question asked of Beau Freyler about what happened, why did you guys fucking suck? And I can't remember what the whole quote was, but he said something along the lines of the quote he used was, "We're just running the plays that are called." I was like, that's kind of a weird.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
That's a weird quote. Like I don't know if he meant it to sound that way.
NFL players say that all the time too. Like,
yeah, but they're professionals.
He probably didn't mean it that way.
Right.
It does.
Right.
It sounds kind of bad. But
it sounds bad. Like I'm assuming he meant like we're just doing the best we can with what we've got, type of thing.
He probably meant it as we're running the plays that are being called. We have to execute it.
I think
better.
There's definitely some non-executing going on both sides of the ball. Like,
oh yeah.
You can nitpick coaching and play calling all you want, but like there's.
look at that corner blitz. They blitz Jontez Williams off, and then the freshman safety whose name is completely leaving me at the moment. Number 19 just didn't cover over top. He didn't fill over to the sideline. He stepped up to cover a run play or something. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he did not know what his responsibility was on that. Or he just wasn't paying attention or what. But that was a blown coverage that was a non-execution.
I think it was non-execution and a lack of communication. God damn it! I'm starting to sound like fucking Matt Nagy in here. Lack of communication and execution were the factors in this one on defense. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, but that's exactly what it was. I mean, you could just tell by some of these pass-offs that they had on the defensive side of the ball, like nobody was back there on like half of them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we just suck, bro.
Maybe we just suck. I don't know.
I made a tweet about Rocco, and I said Iowa State has a quarterback problem. And what I got partially drilled, partially not drilled.
Could be way worse.
It could be a lot worse. Yeah.
It could definitely be a lot worse. And this is why I'm going to clarify it a little bit, because it's not that they have like a talented quarterback problem. We have a talented quarterback. It's just within the context of the game, in certain situations, we have a quarterback problem.
You weren't meaning that like you need to get rid of Rocco.
No.
Right.
Like,
yeah, you're saying like Rocco's seeing ghosts right now, man.
Yeah, that's like one case was like, okay, the drive stalled on third down. He had Carson Hansen wide open on a check down that would have got 10 yards or more, and he ducked his eyes to basically see where the hole was in the line, and he was fine. He looked down to see where he could run and then up and then took off. And Carson Hansen's just like, hey, yo, dude, like the whole time, even before he ducked his eyes. Or his footwork on the first drive was immaculate. Like he wasn't bouncing up and down, and he was just putting the feet in the ground and driving the ball. 99 yards, touchdown. Like the pass to Jalen Nola scored touchdown was a beautiful one.
Mm-hmm.
But then the very next drive, he goes back to bouncing his feet and throwing inaccurate footballs. And so then he would it's almost like he's flip-flopping every other drive from bad footwork to good footwork, bad footwork to good footwork. The consistency in his footwork the last 4 weeks has been horrendous. And that's been why we have a quarterback problem.
I mean, he's only going to get better, but
well, it's a little bit discouraging though, because you look at like last season. I remember he graded out PFF wise, like against the blitz, he graded out like an 85 or something stupid high for a freshman. and now it's like 49 this year. Like it's like straight up bad against the blitz. And I think the offensive line right now is doing him absolutely no favors. They have been real shitty the last couple of weeks. I mean, we were talking about they were making good progress to start the season, and they were playing pretty well up through the UCF game, I would say. And the last couple of weeks, man, the offensive line has been horrible. And Rocco has had to run for his life constantly. And I think that's kind of got him. I think that's made him a little antsy in a way that he wasn't before. And I think that because he took 3 sacks on Saturday, 3 or 4.
I mean,
it was way too many.
What do you have the big hit? It was at UCF. He took the big hit on the run. Yeah, and like that can happen too, where the protection breaks down a little bit on you, and then all of a sudden you're kind of like creating problems that don't exist for yourself because you have that in the back of your mind. Like Brock did that. Now, granted, like Brock had horrendous offensive line play most of his career, but like, there would be a perfect pocket, and he would just like break the pocket by himself and just like start running for his life when he didn't need to. So I mean, there is that. But
lack of trust in the line.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't know. The offense has been sufficient. That like we've talked about it multiple times. They haven't had the game where it was like, man, that was perfect. Like they did just about everything they could have done correctly. They haven't played to their full potential yet, but they've been sufficient to win every game. They've done good enough.
38 points should be enough to win any football game.
Yeah, especially against Kansas.
I mean, really against anybody, but yeah, especially Kansas. But I mean, he missed that wide open throw to Steve Klotz that ended up in a field goal, and he missed a couple of
guy in
throws.
my mentions trying to. Like, I didn't like start the conversation. I was just like, "Oh God, he missed him." You know, I think that was like my tweet. And some guy goes, "Oh yeah, he missed him wide open." And then some dude like came in after. And he's like, "Yo, that was Steve Klotz's fault."
Brock missed that throw by 10 yards.
in what world was that Steve-O's fault?
Because he's not 10 feet tall. I don't. Whatever.
How about that though? Like underrated though. Like I kind of like shocked me. Like
I mean, it looked weird, right? Like the whole play looked a little weird. Like it was obviously schemed well. Like no one covered.
It was nice, nice play call.
It was good.
Yeah, but it looked a little funky. Like Steve-O maybe was like falling a little bit. He didn't have great footing, and then. Tough throw, honestly. Like I know he's wide open. It sounds like it should be easy, but like those are the hard ones when those little touch passes where there's not a lot of room. You got to get it over the line, but you don't have yard. Like you can't lay it out because there's no room there. Like I mean, tough throw, but I mean that shit happens.
He should make it though. He should.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, you should.
I mean, it's like when
if he did if he did
for a receiver, like if a ball if it hits you in the hands, a receiver like is gonna say I should catch that.
Right. No, you should, but like it's college football. It's fucking crazy, right? Like shit happens. Now, if he does it every single week or multiple times a week, like sure, you're like okay, we can fucking figure this out. But like crazy stuff's gonna happen.
Underrated thing though for Steve-O though, like it was in the late third quarter. They ran him down the seam, and he like outran everyone.
Yeah,
like
dude, Steve-O
that dude had some fucking wheels going there. Like, after he hit that pass, I'm like, where the fuck has that been?
Yeah, what the hell?
He literally blew by the fucking linebacker, and like if there wasn't a safety, he's gone.
Steve-O can kind of run.
He was outrunning everybody.
Yeah. Kind of wild. It was such a beautiful because that play happened. That throw happened essentially directly down my line of sight. So like when I watched Rocco throw, he just went straight or whatever. Like it was a beautiful play and a beautiful throw. Like I mean, that's the type of shit. Like,
give me some more of that.
I don't know. Yeah, it was unbelievable. So second thing as I heard during the game, I never want to hear about the offensive line is greatly improved in the offseason ever again. Okay, so there's 2 parts to this. It started out
this year was the defensive line.
I say, well, it started out the offensive line was rough against North Dakota. They weren't great. And then it was like, okay, yeah, don't ever tell me this again. But they actually did get better, like especially through the first like 5 games, through the Houston game, through the West Virginia game, I would say especially. Offensive line got better, and I think like by the time you got to West Virginia, it was actually like solid. Not great, but like solid enough. and then you're like, okay, we might have a line now. And then the last 2 weeks they've been shitty.
Well,
So
the
it's-
same thing happened last year, right? Like we got better as towards the end of the season, and then they came out in the bowl game and just laid a fucking
my
dud.
God.
Like they haven't even
Yeah,
played
they're
offensive
awful.
line. So like there is in 2 years though, the last 2 years, and I'm not gonna point any fingers yet because like I think Dylan has said it a bunch of times. Like we're still not to like Clanton's dudes yet. So like I'll wait to reserve full judgment until that point. But like we have seen 2 years in a row where we've seen improvement, and then we've seen drastic step backs.
I think one thing I think that's what's worth noting about the Clanton stuff is that like if you think about who the best couple linemen have been on the line the last 2 years since Clanton got here, it's all been guys that have only been coached by Ryan Clanton. If you look at Brendan Black, you look at Dylan Barrett, and you look at Jalen Travis.
But
Those
Black
have
has been worse this year compared to what he was last year.
Yeah.
So that's
But
a little worrisome.
Those have still been your 3 best linemen the last couple of years. And those are guys that have only been coached by Ryan Clanton.
I'm still fully on board.
Oh, yeah.
Until like this offensive line will not be a complete solid unit that plays well the entire year until they have the center position figured out. They have not had a good center the last 3 years.
I think they need to find somebody as a freshman and say, you are a center and this is what you are. And coach it instead of moving shit around. Cause like Jared Hufford started his career at guard. I think he even projected maybe as a tackle early in his career, and then moved him into guard. And now he's in center. You need
to find the smartest football mind on your offensive line, but also pair that with the dumbest motherfucker that you have that is willing to absorb the most pain and beat the fuck out of everyone and set the tone for the rest of the group. You need that combo at center. You need to find one of them.
Which is unfortunate too, because Iowa State had some
Jason Kelsey. Smartest football line you can find.
Iowa State had some really good center play for a long, long time, and it helped fuel some of those offensive lines that were pretty solid. And Colin Newell was good. Trevor Downing, the 1 year he played, it was solid. Then if you keep going back a little bit further, you get to like Tom Farniok and stuff like that. Like those guys are really good.
I mean, Tom Farniok was a pretty smart football mind, but he's also dumb enough to absorb pain.
Right.
And it's like if your center cannot get off the ball and move somebody 3 yards initially, you're never ever. It doesn't matter what the other 4 guys are doing. None of that matters because your feet from the center, if they get pushed back instantly, they're going to knock the feet off of everybody else.
I think it's encouraging that like Trevor Burr is starting to show up and play well in games and stuff like that too. You wish you had Dylan Barrett there because he was playing really well to start the season. But I think it's encouraging that Trevor Burr has played fairly well when he's been in there. I'm not sure why they keep running James Neal out there at left guard. They keep trying to make James Neal happen, and I don't.
But honestly, like that's like what I called for at the beginning of the year is to have Jalen Travis left tackle and James Neal at guard. Like he hasn't been bad at guard. He's not noticeable in the issues.
Fair enough.
And if you're not noticeable in the issues, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean the different also you talk about the pass protection like being okay and then getting worse or whatever. We haven't ran the ball all year.
Not much. Haven't made it an emphasis for sure.
It just hasn't worked. Like we haven't played a game. I mean,
where we've dominated in the run game. And
yeah, I mean we haven't played.
Houston was probably the closest we ever got.
Yeah, I'm talking like Houston and Arkansas State. Like those are really bad football teams. I'm talking about I know we don't play any good football teams, unfortunately, and that might be part of our downfall. Like how do you get better when you play against dog shit every week?
Houston's actually turned out to be okay, and their defense has actually turned out to be pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean the Kansas State whatever is cool, but they suck too. So it's like I don't know. There's really not a lot of good competition, I don't feel like, which sucks. But back to my point, the run game is what your entire offense thrives off of. And there hasn't been a game where I felt like from the start of the game, I was just like, oh, we can run it on these guys whenever we want to. Like, I just feel like that sucks.
Quarterback's best friend is a run game that works.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we have backs, right? Like we have backs, we have, and we have the pass threat that to open up the run game. I know that sounds back ass words, but like that works that way too. Like with the threat is there that we can take the top off the defense. So like,
yeah, when you got Steve-O Klotz that has wheels, you know.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just I can't wrap my head around like we just can't dominate anybody in a run game. And I don't know if it's an offensive line deal or what, but
the one guy I think Carson Hansen I think has established himself as a very solid running option most of the time because it seems like they've figured out how to use him.
Well, that's because he's a one cut runner.
Right. I think they've figured out that you run him through the A gap or that maybe even the B gap and just send him, just tell him to run straight. And that's been working pretty good. And Abu Sama seems like he's starting to get a little bit of confidence the last couple games. He's been playing better. But man, he had a nice couple game run there, Jalen Jackson. But man, I don't know if they just can't figure out what they want to do with him or what's going on. But man, that guy
he's
can't get past the line of scrimmage.
He's the guy that you want to stretch in between the guard and the tackle, and when you can't generate that crease for him, it's not going to work.
Right. So right now he's just not even remotely like he's just not getting to the line of scrimmage at this point. So I think I hate to say you just abandon the guy, but it's just like,
well, we're used to having these backs that they get to the line of scrimmage by themselves. David and Brees, like, it didn't matter if they got hit in the backfield; they were going to get positive yardage.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean,
Jalen can't do that. Jalen's too small to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a David Montgomery or Brees Hall. That's pretty safe to say. But like, we have good enough backs if we had really solid offensive line play.
Those two masked a lot of run blocking issues.
Oh yeah, we had
big time.
We had horrible issues, and between like the 3 tight end sets and the great running backs that we had, covered a lot of that up. Like,
I mean, if you look at like a lot of David and Brees's biggest runs, they all came bouncing shit outside because there wasn't a hole in the middle.
Breaking tackles. And
it was a pretty rare sight to see Brees Hall get like room to run in the A gap or something like that. It was, I don't know. So you don't have the individual skill, the individual skill player at the running back position to just make shit work. Like,
and then to back that up, the guy backing both those guys up the whole time was Kane, who like, fucking
game changer.
Jesus Christ, you better not let a gap get open or that guy's gone.
He's gone. He's fucking gone. Was it? Oh, he had a couple nice games like that. Was it Oklahoma? Maybe
he like disappears into the interior of the line, and then he just shoots out the other side, and then he just scores a touchdown before you can even blink.
Right. So that's kind of getting exposed a little bit, not having that playmaker running back.
We have 5 minutes left. Are we talking the Cincinnati game or no?
No.
Cincinnati is us, but not quite as explosive on offense. They run the same defense we do. They're a solid team. They're a solid but not great team.
The title of this podcast is The Road Ahead. Here's my road ahead. You got three winnable games. Let's just go out and hope for the best as fans and get some wins along the way, and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. Have a couple beers.
At this point, it's let's just win a game on Saturday and then figure it out from there.
Well, like now you don't have to stress about anything. Just go have a couple beers, enjoy yourself, and
look. Here's the thing. Like
it wasn't Cincy Twitter. It was Scott Satterfield specifically.
Satterfield bashing the grass. That's fine. We have an elite turf grass program, but he's looking at those last 2 games like. There is moisture on the field. The grass has been bad. Like there's no you can't say
it's been slick. But I mean, if you look at it though,
the grass is not bad. It's been slick just because.
Yeah, you're playing night games, so the grass is dewy. That doesn't help. 2, if you notice, Iowa State players are slipping much less than the other team, and that's because they wear longer spikes and they're used to playing on natural grass. I don't know what to tell you. Like get better. Like tell your equipment staff to pack longer.
Yeah, spikes. I mean, if your equipment staff doesn't swap your spikes out when you're playing on grass, they're just
they're not doing their job.
Yeah, they're just like
I don't think he was like
figuratively saying like Iowa State's turf grass management team is a bag of dicks. Like he's seeing the slipping, and that's how he was.
And
saying
that's
it.
fine. But UCF, you got to look at the last. I mean, Texas Tech wasn't really sliding around anywhere.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, you can
Were
get
they?
turf, right? You can
Yeah.
get turf if you want, but then it's like, would you rather have a couple guys slip every game, or would you rather have a couple ACLs every season?
And that's the whole point. Is like,
Yeah.
I mean, the slipping is kind of the point. Like, you would rather have a guy slip and fall down than blow an ACL or blow an Achilles or something like
No.
that.
I
And
just
you look at, I mean, look at in the NFL. Look at MetLife Stadium in New
Yeah,
York.
it's horrible.
MetLife is famous for
NFL
claiming
players die.
claiming Achilles and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like,
I just implore Iowa State fans to, I don't even know if that's the right word. I don't care. I just ask you Iowa State fans to just not be so soft about that comment. Let's just let it
yeah,
go.
it's one of those where like we know that our grass field is a good field. We know we know it is. It's not going to be uniformly perfect every game like a turf field is, but you can also avoid ACL and Achilles injuries while playing on it, and it also looks nice when it's especially when the weather's nice. So
And Satterfield probably said some other shit with that quote. That's the worst thing about Twitter and social media is like they clip these quotes and type them out on the tweet and like, oh, that guy fucking hates everything. He probably said something else with it too that probably said an even lot less worse than what it looked like.
probably. But I hope that they lose, and I hope he gets asked about in the press game conference. Like, do you think the field was that fault for you losing?
And he's gonna say yes.
I hope he does. That make him look like a huge bitch.
I did like Tyson Vite's quote that he's like, Mauser's going to try to kill me, and I know he will.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was Mauser about Vite.
Oh, I thought Vite said it. I thought it was a clip. I mean,
It was
anyway.
Mauser saying that Tyson Vite was going to try to kill him.
Mm.
Well,
Well,
either way, the feeling's probably mutual both sides.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, they want to beat each other. Yeah, for sure.
just hope Cincinnati's campus looks like a college campus when you envision a college campus.
It looks like how a college campus is supposed to look like.
Just hope they're going to go out there. Listen, Matthias, Cincinnati, they're going to go out there. They're going to try to lock down all three phases of the game, which are offense, defense, and special teams. By the way, if you did not know that, he wasn't here for the video. I don't.
Oh
think.
yeah. Matthias wasn't. You don't even know what you're just smiling there like a fucking goofer, and you don't even know what we're talking
It's
about.
like some insane Matt Campbell reference.
No, it's a Tyson Vite interview from when he was hired as the head coach for what the hell was that? Buffington, yeah. Oh my gosh, it's an all timer. I'm gonna see if I can.
It's one of the best interviews ever in the history. Like for the longest time, I mean, we gave him shit for it. I couldn't tell if I thought it was hilarious because I knew him and like knowing how he is, like it made it funny.
Here it is.
But I think it's just funny. Oh, Bluffton, yeah, that's right.
Bluffton. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if you can hear my screen or if you can hear it or not. Let's see. I'm going to share.
It's like he got Bluffton College. He was hired as the coach, and it's like his intake interview.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
Let's see
what
here.
a press conference.
Let me know if you can't hear this.
Chose Bluffton and felt good about the opportunity.
Can you hear
it?
Yeah.
History of the university and the solid football tradition that has been here. The campus, when you envision a campus, a college campus, it looks like a college campus should look when you think, I'm going to go away to college. This is what a college campus should look like. The vision that we'll have here as a football staff is to develop the current roster of men that
I've never been more
right
convinced
now,
in my life that we're going to
will come
destroy
back to
Cincinnati.
campus, between Sunday and Monday. We need to develop those men. We need to add to that current roster through recruiting and obviously retention. So those are two.
Man's just reading the Indeed job description.
Goals and demands on our staff currently. We need to compete in our conference first after we get those two things done and continue with those two things, and then compete at a national level after that. So that's the immediate vision, and we'll continue through with those things as we go. A philosophy that will go by this year and forever. we need to be fundamentally sound in all three phases of football, which are offense, defense, and special teams play. We need to be disciplined on the field and off the field as well. And within all that, emphasizing NCAA philosophies and NCAA Division III philosophies will be combined with that perpetually. And three things that are, whether it's academically or athletically, we need to be the hardest working, most disciplined, and then best conditioned.
You mentioned discipline once, Coach.
As student athletes here, so we'll work on those three things as well.
No, keep it going.
There's only a minute left.
Emphasize again, recruiting is the most important thing we'll do here every year. Combining with that is the retention of our current roster each year.
Really thought he was going to say discipline again.
Work together. Obviously, our current roster will help us in recruiting as well. So, and we obviously, as we retain students here, we need to develop them.
There it is. Development. Got it again.
Members of society.
Recruit, retain, develop.
As a football program. Immediately, I'm in the process of organizing to meet with the current players as they come back. That'll be the first thing we do, and I'll do that as a team and do that individually. So that's initially what we'll do. So hopefully I've outlined a few things for everyone and maybe answered some questions without
you didn't answer any
questions.
But again, thank you.
So we're gonna recruit.
The only question he answered was, "What are your job responsibilities?"
So we're gonna recruit, retain, and develop twice, and then we're gonna go by the main philosophy of
Division
being
III.
very fundamentally sound in the three phases of the game, which are offense, defense, and special teams.
First thing we're gonna develop the guys that are currently on the roster,
special play,
and then we're gonna add to the roster. We're gonna add to the roster with recruiting. Yes, you're describing what a football coach does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's crazy is that's the philosophy. The philosophy is crazy. Like our philosophy that our team will follow now and forever is to be fundamentally sound in the game of football.
And then he talks about following. He's like, we follow we follow NCAA and Division III philosophy. I don't know what Division III philosophy.
Recruit, retain, and develop.
Recruit, retain, develop.
Recruit, retain, develop.
Okay, I guarantee you would be able to know this, Dylan, but that's probably not like how he sounds now as a football coach. But
yeah, no, but
I'm sure he's much more confident now.
Yeah,
he still sounds that way. He still talks like that.
Sure.
He looked very like deer in the headlights and nervous during that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't care who you are. That shit's funny.
Oh, it's shit.
That was, that same coach is probably still in his head right now. So I've never been more convinced that we are.
Never been more convinced.
We are winning by 30.
Yeah. All right. Let's give some predictions for this weekend.
So I was going to say this. I think that because of how the season has unfolded the last couple weeks, and everything is like basically pressure off, we'll probably go out and win like the last 3 games by 40, just to be like a fucking.
I'm fine with that.
Just to like spite everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna go out and win by 40 every week, and then Colorado's gonna win out too, and we're gonna miss out on that.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
you know what? If we finish out the season, if we finish out the regular season 10-2 and do that by absolutely blowing the fuck out of Kansas State, I'm good with it.
Yeah,
I can make peace with that outcome.
It's fine, but it's still a little disappointing. But
it'll feel bad. It feels bad now, but like if you look at 1, 2, 5 years down the road, it's like, you know what? We finished regular season 10-2, maybe finish the whole thing 11-2.
I'll tell you this: it feels bad now, but you come Thanksgiving Day weekend, we beat the piss out of Kansas State. I'll be drunker than fucking. It will not feel bad.
Dude. Fuck yeah, dude. Like if we lose the next 2 and we beat Kansas State to go 8-4 instead of 7-5, but we beat the fuck out of them.
I'm just telling you, I just feel the psychological war happening, and just to throw it in everybody's face, they're going to convincingly win all 3 of these games.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that outcome. I've watched that bad cyclone football over the year. Like if they're gonna win 10 games out of spite for the rest of us,
See, Colorado has to win out for that to happen.
They do.
Because we are Iowa State. So if Colorado drops a game, then we blow out the first 2 games and then we lose to Kansas State. That's what would happen because we are still Iowa State.
Colorado would still have to, they'd have to specifically lose to Kansas or Utah. If they lost to whoever, I can't remember who they
Here's
played.
the thing: they could lose to Kansas.
They could lose to Kansas.
Oh,
Yeah, they
yeah, they
absolutely
could.
could lose to Kansas. I have no idea what to think about Utah. I guess
I don't know. They might be able to score too many points against Kansas. Their defense is.
No idea. Yeah, I'm not sure. But alrighty, boys. Predictions for the weekend.
30-0 based on that video alone.
I'll give them 7.
The good news for Cincinnati is they do know that the 3 phases of football are offense, defense, and special teams.
Yeah,
What's up, brother?
38-7.
I think
All
I
right.
put that video in my game preview.
It's
If I
really
actually
funny.
finish
It's
this week.
objectively funny. I'm going to take a somewhat reasonable approach to this.
Bitch.
We're going to
And,
bounce back at some point. How's it not reasonable?
I mean, I hope they do, but we have nobody. There's nobody healthy to do that.
Join the movement, Levi. Don't be a bitch.
30-0 Cincinnati. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's go!
I
I mean, did you not just see this video? He said Cincinnati, by the way.
said Cincinnati with the 30-0.
Fuck!
You're like, let's go.
Well, that's what we're gonna put in the. We'll put that in the Slack right now. Hey, I've been right 2 weeks in a row in the Slack that we'd be losing. So, shout out me.
I actually think no, I said it in our Slack chat. Okay. Okay. My official prediction, I think I'm gonna say 34-31 Iowa State.
I hate that that's probably closer than ours, but I don't think we're going to have trouble scoring because
No.
people might at a surface value like think that because the defensive coach at Cincinnati like came from Iowa State. Like your first instinct is like, they're going to have us figured out. Like we also play all off season long against that defense. So
Mhm.
like, I don't think scoring is going to be an issue. Now they also do the same thing. So is
Right.
scoring going to be a non-issue for them is the question. If the defense shows up, we're going to win. It's not even gonna be close.
Iowa State has a pretty significant talent advantage if you're comparing the two offenses. It's just right now Cincinnati's defense is dramatically healthier than ours,
Yeah.
so that's not ideal.
I just think if our defense shows up, like we win.
Yeah, if the defense
handily.
is even a shadow of its usual self, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't see the worrisome on the Cincinnati offense that I do against like the Kansas. Like
No,
the Kansas,
Cincinnati
Kansas
doesn't
always
have-
had that like boom factor where it's like, okay, this game could be the one that they like. Hey, this is the Kansas offense that could show up. Well, and they did against us, so here we are.
I mean, you got to look at the Kansas offense right now. They have their most explosive quarterback they've ever had. They have their all-time leading rusher at running back, and they've got Luke Grimm, a receiver who's played 200 years at that place and is a very good
enough
athlete.
about Kansas, dude, fuck them. That fucking logo was horrendous. I hate that shit. It was awful. The black unis with the logo with the fucking beak.
Oh,
that's
I
goddamn-
couldn't see it. I just saw
Holy-
the black uniforms. I couldn't see the logo on the helmet. It's
Oh,
it's the old timey Jayhawk logo.
Oh, it's human. It's like the beak's like this big. It was ugly. So
Yeah. But the point of that though is that Cincinnati does not have like the athletes that Kansas does on that side of the ball.
All right, based on that 41-7, I've upped it up.
I'm still gonna say 34-31. My dog is whipping a fucking toy around this room right now, and it's very. Can you guys hear that? It's crazy.
Kind of toy.
Good question. Coco. Okay, apparently she's ripped the squeaker out of a toy.